Welcome to Signal Flow Basics. I'm Olive Del Sol, and today we're going to set up to record some audio. First, you're going to need to power up your gear. I recommend that you use a surge protector in between your recording gear and the wall. The next thing you'll power on is your computer and start whatever your DAW or digital audio workstation will be. I'll be using Ableton for this series. You'll also want to connect and power on any hard drives that you'll be using to save your session. Then you'll want to power on your audio interface. I'll be using the Universal Audio Aero interface. It's also called an A to D converter. Be sure to turn off your studio monitors before you record so that you can avoid any feedback. Now let's talk about signal flow. Just imagine that signal flow is like a river. So you're going from the source and curving wherever you need to get to the sea. In audio, this is from your audio input, today will be a microphone, to your audio output, which today will be the computer to save whatever you recorded and headphones for monitoring. We're going to need some cables to make connections between these items. So one of the cables we'll use is an XLR cable, and this is an audio cable. You can connect them to microphones. They have 3 pins. If you're going to be recording an instrument, like an electric bass, electric guitar, you'll be using a TRS cable. And a TRS cable has 2 stripes. There are also a few different types of microphones you should know. One is a dynamic microphone. These are often found on stage. They use a coil to transfer your SPL, or sound pressure, into a signal. Another type is ribbon microphone, which was used in the early days of radio. It uses a folded piece of metal, very thin metal, to transfer your sound pressure into a signal. And the last microphone is a condenser microphone that uses a diaphragm. It could be small or large to transfer your sound pressure into a signal. A condenser microphone is special because it will require phantom power. Phantom power on an audio interface looks like plus 48V. You want to make sure there is no phantom power for a ribbon microphone so that it does not damage the delicate ribbon. Each microphone has its own pickup pattern. One of the most common is a cardioid pickup pattern. So just like cardio, it's heart-shaped, and it starts at the capsule of the microphone, and the best pickup will be right in the front. In the back, you'll cancel out any of the audio. So if you have something that you don't want to capture, you'll put that directly at the back of the microphone. Knowing what pickup pattern your microphone has can help you set up a session much more effectively. Let's talk about gain staging. Gain is how you can bring your level up. You'll want to follow your signal flow path and add gain in small amounts at each place, each stage that you can add gain. And listen for gain hiss. That'll be a great clue that you've overdone it on the gain. Let's get down to business and really make the connections. So we've got our microphone, and the microphone needs to be plugged into an XLR cable. So I'll line up the holes with the pins, and you might notice this little button. It will snap in when it's securely connected. Great. The other side of this XLR goes into the audio interface. I'm going to put this in the channel mic line 1. So microphone would take the XLR, while a line would take the TRS. But since we're using a microphone, we'll use the XLR. Again, line up the pins and push them in until they click. All right, the next step in our signal flow is to connect the interface to the computer, and I'll be using this USB 3. One last step, you'll see this light up. That means it was successfully connected. Want to make sure that your monitor is all the way down so as you turn on your audio interface, so you don't get a nasty surprise and hurt your ears. And our last connection is the monitoring headphones. Now let's go to Ableton and set up to record audio. First, you'll want to open Ableton and set up a new session with an audio track. A shortcut is Command N for new session and Command Shift S to save as. Title your set something that you can remember. I'll put recording magic, and make sure that you know what set or folder your set's in by dropping down here and press save. We won't need any MIDI tracks for this experience, nor will we need more than one audio track. Now I'm going to go to the preferences. In Mac, the shortcut is Command comma, and on a PC, it'll be Control comma. You'll come up with the preferences here, and here's the drop downs for audio input device. You want to make sure that your A to D converter or audio interface is selected. So mine's the Universal Audio Thunderbolt for both the input and the output. And here's your sample rate. The more detailed your sound will be, and the smaller the sample rate, the more easily it will be sent, as it will be a small file. So you have to kind of balance out what your system can handle and how much space you have available. Now, your buffer size is good to note if you're experiencing any latency, and that means too much time in between when you say something and when you hear it on your monitoring. You can adjust your buffer size up, increase your buffer to deal with latency. I love this test tone button. This test tone is a great way to check if your input and output is the way you want it to be. So I put on my monitoring headphones and made sure that my headphone volume was at a good level, and now I hear the test tone. So I'm going to turn off the test tone. Let's go ahead and rename this track. Command R to rename any track, and I'll put vocals or snaps actually here. And checking right here is the ins and outs. It'll say external input, which is perfect. You want that. That's your audio interface. Now you can choose what channel. And I plugged into channel 1. So I'm going to choose channel 1 here and turn my input monitoring to auto. You can see some signal going in to my mic. That's great. I'm going to record enable here. And this is where you can start to add some gain. If your level is not loud enough, this is where you can add gain until the signal is looking good and healthy. Hitting yellow is fine. Hitting red is too much. Excellent. Now I've got a good healthy signal. Next, go to your metronome and make sure that this is the beats per minute that you want for your session, and adjust that there. Activate the metronome by pressing on it, and this next to the metronome is your count in. I have this at 1 bar, but you can choose different count in. This means the amount of time that the metronome will go before the recording starts. Have record enabled my track. All I need to do now is record enable my session and we'll be live. So you can do this in a couple of different ways. You can record enable your session by going to the transport bar and pressing the round icon, or you can do a shortcut by function F9. And the hotkey to stop recording is spacebar. And that is how you record in Ableton. If it didn't go perfectly, here's some great ways to troubleshoot. Follow your signal flow path and check if the power is on all of those pieces. Then check your cables and make sure they're securely plugged in. And if it's sounding thin, you can also reverse the polarity. Check the polarity. Polarity is going to show up like a 0 with a line through it on your audio interface. Well, that was great, and I can't wait to see you in the next video intro to Ableton.